Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to actually start with the sewer commission items, and then I'll go to visitor comments, just so that we can get that out of the way first.
Okay.
We're going to act as the sewer commission, one meeting a month now. We've kind of lost sight of that, and Liz brought it to our attention a couple of meetings ago, so she wasn't wrong. So we're going to at least get the ball rolling so that we can take care of anything that needs to be taken care of.
It did include an email from the sewer superintendent. He unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. So he did say he was okay with the sewer regulations, but would really just like to update the fee schedule. So that is in your packet.
Okay. So we can start looking at that. Do you think we could pull together what surrounding towns
Yeah,
and go from there?
absolutely.
Okay.
How many would you like?
I mean, I would think at least like who. So where? Because where has sewer, right? Barry. They have sewer. Brookfield.
Mike, I think they do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check all the Brookfields.
Okay. I think that's a good place to start.
Okay.
Okay. And where there's no abatements, we did those at a previous meeting, so we're good with that. Okay.
What about the regulations themselves? The regulations we got, they weren't signed, so I was just wondering, were they ever signed?
So I got this copy from the sewer superintendent. I will check with the town clerk. He's just not until Wednesday, but I'm
Okay.
assuming that they were. However, again, I just
That's my
grabbed them.
assumption, yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't hurt to check.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And is there a current or updated, like, sewer regulations?
That's it.
That's it, 2010, that's?
Right. So that's why it would behoove us to take a look at them. And
Okay, yeah, that's why I'm
but with
asking.
Scott, like I think
Yeah,
Scott,
yeah,
you know,
have a
he has the
conversation.
hands-on, so,
Mhm.
he said, you know, his comment was he didn't have a ton of concerns with them except for the fees, like the permitting fees and stuff, the schedule of fees, so
Right.
let's maybe attack that first and then, go from there.
He was in my office today, and he just made it seem like it was pretty boilerplate.
But we can take a look at it and, you know, see if anything seems out of date or anything like that. We have a public hearing at 6:30. Do you want to go now, Bill?
We could, whatever is helpful to you,
I
to
mean,
the board.
That's enough time, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
we
okay.
were hoping we wouldn't take up more than
Okay.
10 minutes of your time, if that's okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me do visitor comments first. I'm sorry.
Sure,
And
yeah.
then we can move on to that. Does anyone, Ian?
When's the pump station gonna be done? They're working there.
They are, yes.
Do you have any idea?
You talking about the one in Wheelwright?
No,
No.
on Hardwick Road, the new pump station.
The booster pump station,
Oh,
just south
that,
of the common.
so I'm pretty sure that's completely done, minus the paving that they have to fix, and correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know if it's online.
It's not online.
Right.
No,
It's not
it's
So-
not online. They're waiting on National Grid.
Right, so the pole finally went up, and they
Yeah.
had to do their work, and then, so it's just electricity, I think, at this point. We have another, well, we meet the weekly meetings on Thursdays, so I can certainly ask the question and get an answer. But I think we're really close.
I think so too.
We waited a long time for National Grid to place the pole. Was
Is that part of
like
what
a
the
really
problem
big
is?
holdup of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. Okay, any other visitor comments? Good, okay. Bill?
Thanks. Thank you for giving us a slot on the agenda. Hopefully we won't take too long here. So Justine and Bill haven't met Gary. Gary Masitis is sitting beside me. Eric and Kelly, you have. He is still the president of the Lake Association. Hardwick Pond Preservation Association. The town was good enough to partner with us back in 2017. The town, you all voted to give us a letter of support, which Senator Goby put to use, helping to seek funding for our weed control efforts. For Bill, for you and Justine, Hardwick Pond was weed-free until the 70s when the boat ramp went in, and then the boats immediately brought in and spread some of these invasive aquatic weeds, which have pretty much taken over the pond,
But it's bad.
our only lake in town. And at the time, we pointed out that the lake was the subject of numerous plans and documents in town as a priority for protection, for public access and recreational use. Anyway, so since that time, the letter that you all provided us, the last line, please keep us informed of your future progress. So that's why we're here, to report that we've had some great success. I don't know, you can chime in at any time. This is not my show. You can introduce yourself. Unfortunately, he knocked at my door in probably 2016, and I made the mistake of answering it. So then I was immediately part of the Lake Association. There are 4 officers. And even though, relatively speaking, I'm a newcomer, Gary and the Jones family and the Larson family, they've been here for generations, since the 50s.
Yeah, 40s.
40s. Anyway, so we had some money that Senator Goby got us with your help and all, and we used it to work on the problem. It turned out that once we went to the DEP folks and the Conservation Commission for permitting, it also went to the state Endangered Species Program, and we learned at the time, we were reminded that we had a rare plant, and we had to be extra careful since we were proposing, the companies proposed to us that we use an herbicide in the pond. So we took that responsibly. We worked for several years on some studies on the pond, and we proved that we weren't going to harm the rare plants, and we were allowed to treat.
Right, but the key part of that all was that we had to pick a way of treating the weeds that natural heritage and endangered species had never heard of. They're used to contact herbicides that kill everything they touch in the water and all the way to the Atlantic coast. But in this situation, we had to find a herbicide manufacturer that would have something we could use, convincing the heritage folks, and made them partners in a big team that took 4 years to get through, where we even did tests in labs, we did tests on the pond, and then we finally broke through and everybody realized we're not going to hurt the endangered plants. And so we treated the whole pond in 23. And of that treatment, we had I've got some data for you that you can, I'll give you guys copies of, but there were 2 major plants. One was fanwort and the other one was milfoil. Milfoil was losing the battle with fanwort. However, we reduced the fanwort to 75% eradication, but there's still some pockets of it. We had 90% on the milfoil, and so after having to do all these things for heritage, we had to put money out to do that we had raised from the state. We raised over $100,000 from the state, plus out of pocket for all the people at Hardwick Pond. We raised more money to do it. So what that left us with was this last year, what we had was a little pockets on the very north end of the pond where the weeds were still in the water, partially because of the way the water flow is with the beaver dams up there and the wetlands. So what we needed now was to go back and recoup some of that money that we had spent to prove to Heritage that we can get rid of the weeds, but right now, if we leave those there, the job's not finished. If we don't, they will recolonize when boats go up there to fish and whatever else, and we went through.
You'll be
I know
back
it-
to,
Yeah, back to
Yeah.
square one, and I remember them putting the boat landing in 1969. So that's where we are now, but we worked with the senators, Senator Gobi. We worked with the staff from her. They were very good to work with, and the town filled out part of the money, the paperwork for part of the money we were going for, and we got the rest as the association.
we put it in an account for you folks.
Yeah,
so
the
that
town
it
was
could-
nice enough to
It had
actually
to
let us.
filter that way.
Yeah.
We had
Right.
two different pots of money. We weren't really sure what we would get. Senator Gobi went straight to DCR and got some invasive species plant money, and that was $67,500. And then on top of it all, we lucked out and she got us $40,000. That was written right into the
Earmarked.
state
Mhm.
budget. So the $40,000 was us to basically steward and use wisely. The $67,500 had to come through the town because they
Right.
won't trust just anybody with that money.
And it was bond funding.
So the town was nice enough to host the money, as you know, because you helped vote for it, and I think, Eric, you might have been partly involved
I
with
don't
it.
think so.
No, all right. Being a liar.
But I'm a fan.
Yeah, I know.
But just so people are clear,
Yeah.
the town isn't spending any money to do this. We're just holding it in an account for the association.
Yeah,
Because that's what it
yeah, and to
requires.
be honest, right now, we are not sure we're gonna get money, and if we do, working with Senator Durant and his staff, Jared Griggs, who you know, if we're lucky enough, if it is that similar kind of money that comes from DCR, we would need help, but we won't know that for a while. In the meantime, though, the senator has asked us if we would be willing to ask the town to give us an updated version of the letter. And the earlier letter, which you may or may not have seen, it was just a one-pager, and Kelly's signature is on it from that time.
Oh, a different signature.
When it goes back, huh?
It does.
Back before you had practiced your signature so much.
It's a two-page.
And so, at this point, we roughed up kind of a draft for your use that I sent on to Justine. And it would help Senator Durant and his staff chase money for us. They're not really sure what they can do, but they're willing to try. If we just had an updated letter, and we did manage to get an updated letter from the Quabbin because they had given us one before saying, we don't have money to fund your project, but we support it in concept because you will help protect Quabbin from weeds being introduced.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's
So-
left open, that's the biggest body of water in the state. Obviously, it goes to Boston. And those same weeds that we have at Hardwick Pond are at the next stop from the Quabbin water out in Wachusett Reservoir. And they've spent money with scuba divers to pull them out. Can you imagine what that costs? So we're not looking for much. We're looking for about $20,000 to $40,000 over 2 years
Yeah, so
to finish
I
up.
guess the last point I'll make is just simply that, we had quite a bit of money to use, but we had to divert a lot of it for something we never planned on. But it was the right thing to do, which was to work with the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program of the Division of
Right.
Fisheries and Wildlife.
Or
So-
it was going nowhere.
So we really, it was a team effort, really, and it made all of us look good. We all collaborated. But we came up short in the end, and we need a little more money to finish the north end where we couldn't keep the herbicide in place long enough because that's where the water comes in. So we need to finish the job, and he's willing to help chase money for us.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Mhm.
When do you need the letter by?
The sooner the better, there's no rush. I mean, if we got a letter in the next few weeks, I'm sure they would be plenty happy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't you think?
yeah,
You've been
because
talking to Jared.
Well, yeah, and as we already been down this road with
Right.
Senator Gobi, and she was on committees, we knew exactly what needed to be done. And reconciliation is a big weapon. If you have all of the things in your hand when you go to do it, we took her chief of staff and turned him into a salesman.
Yeah.
And guess what? We got the $107,000.
Well, I would hope that they would recognize the work that's been put to date
Yeah,
and know that it's only going to go back to being, horrible again if if someone doesn't,
The folks
Yeah,
that
step
run
up
the
and-
co-op and know that,
right.
we got a letter from
Right,
them, and
so-
obviously, we do, but
Yeah.
it's all about networking into the
Right.
government, and that's the only way you're gonna get money.
So that's how we feel, you know, to be responsible, we need to finish the job. We'll pony up some of our own money around the pond, but we
Yeah.
also could use some help because we're talking 20 to 40,000.
yeah,
You know, it's kind of a big deal. I will say that we had such great success that the longtime families around the pond, the lake, have said, including your family,
Yep.
it looks like it did 40 years ago before the boat ramp went in. The only problem is the north end doesn't.
yeah.
The north end looks like a carpet of weeds still.
Mm.
Anyway, that's kind of where we're at. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask.
I'm okay with it.
Oh, no, I think we should
Yes.
send a letter.
Okay.
That would be very helpful for us.
Should I make a motion?
It's like loading back up what's won before, so that's what we're trying to do.
Right, not losing the ground.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Make a motion to send a support letter to the Hardwick one.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank
have that
you.
ready for you for the next meeting.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
No problem.
Christine.
Thank you.
We only have like 11 minutes before, right, so I don't, how about, we've got, let's see, an appointment for Parks and Rec, Kristen Dukas?
So this has been, long time coming. I did talk to the town clerk because this person technically lives on the other side in Hardwick, but very close to the Hardwick line.
Anywhere,
Sorry,
yeah.
very close to the Hardwick line.
Mhm.
He was fine with it. The chair of the Parks and Rec has given her blessing, so just waiting for your appointment.
Motion?
I'll move that we appoint Kristen Dukas as a member of the Parks and Recreation Committee.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Request to change the membership of the Master Plan Steering Committee. And I believe, Bill, was it 13 to 11 or 30?
Yeah, 13 is the current number on the
Right.
committee, as established by this board a couple years ago. But it's been hard to find a quorum, and we asked, that committee asked the planning board to ask you to change the membership to 11,
Okay,
which will change our quorum,
Yep.
obviously, to a more manageable 12
Okay.
to 6.
And nobody would lose a seat or anything.
No one
Right.
was a seat, and we still have at
Vacancies.
least one seat open
Right.
for any new additions.
I move that we to trim down the Master Plan Steering Committee to 11 members.
I'll second the motion.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Discussion, I'm just jumping around to things that might be quicker until we have our public hearing, so I'm sorry that I'm jumping around a little bit, but I want to make sure that we start the public hearing on time. Discussion and vote townhouse maintenance worker. Let's see.
Yep. So there is a request in here from
Mhm.
Ann Barnes, the chair of the Townhouse Advisory Committee. I don't want to speak for you, Ann, I know.
Do you want to speak, Dan, or?
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
So we've had a request in for a long time. We never found the right person to do like 4 hours a month or so, to assist with cleaning, building checks, particularly in stormy weather. It needs to be somebody who lives close like I do, to go up and check for water in the basement and the sump pump.
Make sure it's all working.
Everything. So Barry Koch lives on Ruggles Hill Road, and he already works for the town.
At the recycle center, right?
At the
Yep.
recycling center. And so he could put in some time and not be over the magic 19 hours, I guess.
Perfect.
So it's our request that we be able to have him do work for the town, and we would submit warrants for the hours.
Okay.
So I had spoken to Lucinda briefly about this, about just matching his recycling center salary at the $15.61
Okay,
for the few hours that he would be assisting at the townhouse.
okay.
So, pay for the revolving account.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
There's a revolving account.
For the townhouse, correct.
Yes.
So it would come out of that.
Yes.
Perfect. Anyone?
I'm
You good?
Yeah. I'm
You good? Yeah, I'm good.
Move that we appoint Barry Koch as what, custodian for the old town hall, for
Maintenance,
the
yep.
I just want a
townhouse.
maintenance worker.
Okay, I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Discussion and vote on statement of interest for the Massachusetts School Building Authority roof replacement at the Hardwick Elementary School. So this, Colleen Muha came to one of our previous meetings, for anyone that wasn't here. And in order to get any type of like grant funding for that roof replacement, we have to submit a letter for this, for the Massachusetts School Building Authority, I believe by the 28th of March, or,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, the end of the month.
Right, so she came before us at our last meeting requesting that we put in a letter of support for this. Do you want me to just read, should I just read this?
That's what they need, yes.
Okay, so resolved, having convened in an open meeting on March 10th prior to, what's the SOI?
Statement of interest.
So thank you.
Yes.
Prior to the statement of interest submission, closing date, the select board of the town of Hardwick, in accordance with its chapter bylaws and ordinance, have voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated March 2025 for the Quabbin Regional School District, which describes and explains following deficiencies in the priority category for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Hardwick Elementary School roof, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance of or the approval of an application, the awarding of the grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the school district to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. Had to say that enough times, huh? Good job. Okay. So are we all,
I didn't catch that.
you want me to read that again? About the Massachusetts School Building Authority?
I move that we submit this letter that satisfies all of what you read.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Of interest.
And do we have did she send along a letter for us to?
Not yet, she just
Okay.
needed that on record.
Okay,
So
and
that's
then
why I
she'll,
have,
okay,
yeah.
perfect. Or she's doing it,
She
we're
is.
not doing it,
They
that's
just need
right.
that on record.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, we've got 4 more minutes here. What can we,
No.
okay. All right. Take a little,
Take a breather.
take a little pause for a second. Gail, are you here for the appointment for Parks and Rec? We already approved her.
Oh, you did?
We did, so I don't want you to sit here waiting. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I jumped around a little bit because we have a poll hearing at 6:30, so I snuck it in early.
I tried so hard to be here at 6.
You're okay? It's all good.
Thank you ever so much.
You're very
I hate to
welcome.
get home and call her.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
It's good to make people happy.
Nobody wants to sit around if they don't need to, right?
We could do the retiree.
Yeah,
health
okay.
insurance real quick.
Discussion and vote on retiree health insurance policy.
So this came about in preparation. We have 2 known retirements in FY '26 and 1 possible in FY '27. It does have to go to the personnel board, which I was made aware of by the chair of the select board. So it's just for your review for now, and then we can discuss it at personnel and then be voted on at the next meeting. There was just a couple things that were missing from the one that was done
Correct.
prior. There was nothing that mentioned if someone retires after the age of 62, before the age of 65, we just need language in there that covers those individuals, so that's what that policy does, so, more to come, but at least you got to read it.
So we can, because before our next meeting, we have personnel,
Yes.
so we can vote on it
Okay.
at our next meeting, but
Okay.
we have it to digest now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Thanks.
Thank you.
When is that personnel meeting? Do
The
you know?
24th.
5:30, right? Yeah, on the
I'm going to
24th.
know in 2 seconds.
5:30 on the 24th.
Yeah,
Correct.
that sounds
Yeah.
about right.
Yeah. Okay. We have 2 more
Yep.
minutes.
I
Right?
have 5 o'clock. It can be 5:30. You also have a joint meeting with the finance committee that night.
But that's at our meeting.
Yes.
So I would say 5:30.
Sure.
I don't think, unless, we're doing contracts in April, correct?
Yes.
So I don't think we need to, yeah. Just bear with us till 6:30, I'm sorry. I don't think I can fit anything in a minute, though. So.
Supposed to ask everybody to turn to their neighbor.
Thank you.
I hope everybody enjoyed the sunshine today. It was gorgeous out. Gosh. All the days could be like today. Oh, don't even. I thought the dog had one getting back from our walk, and it was just a little mud, because she, of course, has to walk through all the muddy puddles.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, longest minute ever. Okay, it's 6:30. So, in accordance with the provisions of Section 22, Chapter 166 of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held at the Hardwick Municipal Office Building, 307 Main Street, Gilbertville, Mass, on the 10th of March at 6:30 p.m. on the petition of National Grid Verizon New England request permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures, along and across a public way, Hardwick Pond Road and Taylor Hill Road. And okay, do you want to say something first? Oh, well, I thought that's what I was doing.
Okay.
Yes. The hearing is now open.
So Ken Kriegel for National Grid, and I believe we have our contractor, James, from Lighthouse as well.
Okay.
So I could start by speaking on the Hardwick Pond Road. That's okay?
Mhm.
So we're to install one SO pole at the beginning of the road, approximately 200 feet from the intersection of Ware Greenwich Road. And this to support a new customer service. The spans are kind of long down that section of the street.
Okay.
What's SO mean?
Solely owned by us. Verizon doesn't want any interest in it.
Thank you.
Should we vote on each one separately? Right? Yeah. Does anyone have any questions on this?
No, but, yeah, I do. Which one is it again?
Taylor Hill Road is what he was
Taylor
just
Hill,
talking
okay.
about. Yeah. So this is for.
No, sorry, Hardwick
Oh,
Pond
this
Road.
is, hi, I'm sorry. I looked at it and then
That's
said the
what I'm
opposite,
asking.
yes.
'Cause I see
Sorry.
Taylor Hill, that's all. Okay.
No, Hardwick Pond Road is the one he was just talking about.
Okay.
It's for a new service.
Mhm.
We have a lot of,
There are several.
this
Several
only
maps
says,
anyway.
Yeah, those are the only two that were sent out, like publicized were.
Two separate ones.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how-
okay, yep.
You can have them if you like.
but in our
Yeah,
packet, we
so-
had another one.
I wasn't gonna have it, so
Oh.
that's fine.
Or there's a
I
long
mean, I have a
run.
bunch of them.
Yeah, so you're doing
So this is
Hardwick
Hardwick
Pond
Pond.
Road and Taylor Hill Road tonight.
So this is
Okay.
Hardwick Pond, yeah.
I move that we grant the National Grid the okay to put in their single-off pole on Hardwick Pond Road.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Any questions from anyone else? No? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye,
Okay, now Taylor Hill Road.
okay.
Oh,
My name's James Cancer. I'm here representing National Grid. We're relocating 2 poles, P7 and P11 on Taylor Hill Road. This work is being done to minimize outages and increase reliability.
so that's this one.
Yeah, I think this one. And you're replacing existing poles? that
Yes, we're
you just swap
relocating
out?
them to balance the spans.
Yeah, okay. Fine, okay. Make a motion that we approve the relocation of the existing poles on Taylor Hill Road. Second.
Any discussion, any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and so that's the only 2 for tonight. Okay,
Thanks for the electricity.
thank you very much, thank you very much, and so we'll close the hearing. Okay. All right.
I was just curious what was involved.
I know.
That was all. I didn't know if they were adding new poles, I guess they were just.
So one was adding
Yeah,
Yeah,
for new service, and that was on Hardwick Pond Road.
yeah, which I'm across the street.
Okay,
Okay.
so that was just for a new service, just one pole?
Yeah.
Yep, okay,
Thank you.
welcome.
you're welcome.
I'm good.
So at least you know the abutters got their notices.
Yes.
Oh, so that's why I'm here too, was for
Oh.
the new service pole I'm
Yes.
imagining?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
For Hardwick, yes.
Yeah, that was Taylor, right?
You know, Hardwick Pond Road was for the new service.
Yeah, I'm on Greenwich, so I meant,
You're in a butter then, probably.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's fine. I didn't know if they were
okay.
digging at the whole line.
Yeah, nope,
No.
thank you.
Guys,
Thanks for coming.
yeah.
Okay, now I have to figure out what I'm at. So,
National Road stuff's all done.
yes, this is the public hearing, yes, we'll set that aside. Okay, interview, appointment, treasurer collector, Alyssa, am I saying that right?
You are.
Alyssa?
Ayers.
Ayers, okay, I didn't wanna butcher
Neither of them
your
are spelled correctly.
your last name.
Okay.
Perfect, okay. So how are you? Nice to meet you, I'm Kelly,
Likewise, nice to meet you. Nice to
I'm
meet
Bill.
all
Bill.
of you. Hi,
and
Bill.
this is Eric.
Yours.
So, if you don't mind us asking you a couple of questions, I know that you have come so far with rave reviews from Sarah Hunter, who is in our interim right now, and I know Justine has spoken very highly of you also. So, thank you for applying and your interest in the position. Can you give a brief summary of your work experience and kind of a general overview of yourself and how your skills qualify for the position and what interested you in applying?
Okay. So I have been in municipal a little over 4 years at this point. I started out in the treasurer collector's office as the assistant. And going on almost 3 years now, I have been the assistant treasurer collector. Worked pretty closely side by side with my previous as well as my current treasurer collector. At this point, kind of taken over a little more of the benefits and payroll aspect of everything. I'm pretty solid on that foundation. And so I was certainly interested when the opportunity came along. Just more so I feel like it would be an opportunity for me to kind of span a little bit outside of my comfort zone and really just kind of capitalize and grow on what I do already. And I personally have my associates in business. I live in the town of Leicester and also currently work for the town of Leicester. I would say, I think that's about it about me. I certainly like to ask a lot of questions when it comes to what it is that I have to do, so knowing the whys we do things kind of helps just really solidify whatever the process is. So that's, I would say that's what I'm probably biggest on.
That's awesome. That's a strong quality to have. If you don't have an answer and you ask the whys, or you have the question, you ask the questions to get to the, end result. That's
And it
great.
certainly helps to know when I can possibly tailor something or if I have to stay on a specific path for it.
And you're okay with, and then I'll let other board members,
Sure.
I won't hog the
No, that's okay.
the floor here, but you're okay with getting certified? What's that, the certification for?
Yeah, so currently I have been to the treasurer collector school.
Oh, good, okay.
And I have to double check because there's actual essentially like points you have to accrue. So I have to see whether it's going to be this year or it would be next year that I can actually, because you have to qualify with those points. So I have to see where my accumulation of points stands, so I can go for at least the treasurer's exam, and then after that, go towards the collector's exam.
Perfect.
So same thing, they both require a specific amount of essentially education and work points
Sure.
that they look at, almost
Makes
like
sense.
variations of credits.
Yep,
So I have to just verify where I'm at with those.
perfect. All right, I will sit back and let others ask.
You'll be letting your job in Leicester go? You're not gonna try to do both?
I don't see how that would be
No,
feasible, but
yeah.
I would certainly be letting the Western job go if I were to come here to Hardwick.
Right.
And you don't have any problem working with Sarah Hunter, obviously, or that's what it sounds.
I got to meet and talk with Sarah for quite some time, and I think she's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited to learn from her, because there was a lot of
Right.
things that, even just in our brief conversation that she told me about, that I haven't had any hands-on with, or just finding like certain functionalities in Vadar or even Harper's that she had told me about that I've not done yet, so I look forward to that. Sure.
Are you familiar with the Vadar operating system, the accounting system?
I am. I've worked more in the past year, I'd say, with the accounting function or accounting module than I have pretty much my entirety of working with Vadar, so very familiar with POS and
Okay.
property tax and excise tax. And so I'd say not as much experience in the CRT and the accounting portion of it, but certainly can make my way through them.
Okay. And do you need much more training on the Vadar system, or are you very familiar with it?
I'm pretty well familiar with it. I also know that they have a great team at Vadar. I know Lee's going to be retiring soon, but between Lee and Mike, I've got a lot of my questions answered. I know that I have them as support if I have a question on something. I also have access to WCTA and MCTA, and a lot of the people in both of those work with Vadar, so there's one part of the MCTA website where everybody poses questions.
What is it? Can you just explain what those acronyms are? For
Sorry.
everyone? That's okay.
So one of them is the Worcester County Treasurer Collectors Association, and the other one is Massachusetts Collectors and Treasurers Association. So on the Massachusetts Collector and Treasurers Association website, they actually have a question forum that anytime somebody poses a question, I kind of just hop on there, even if it's something that I don't have any need for. I just kind of go on there and see what the responses
Because you never know, it might pop up
Right.
later on, and then
Yeah.
you can look back and you know that
Exactly that.
answer's out there somewhere.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure.
Anything else?
No? Sounds good.
Okay. Are you-
I'm good.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are you good with making a recommendation for appointment?
Sure. I mean, do you have any questions for us?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Just one question was just, what is something that you'd like to see come out of the Treasurer Collector's Office that you haven't seen so far, or that you want to see possibly improved upon?
So, I'll speak on that, because I feel like I've kind of had hands-on in there from time to time over the past 9 years. And I feel like we kind of do this, where we can be really on top of things, and then all of a sudden, there's hasn't been a lot of consistency with reconciliations and staying on top of things.
All right.
And I would love to see just that really being tightened up, to be on top of those reconciliations, to be able to, I know in the past, like, I've asked for year-to-date reports. I think that's something that, as a board and as departments, those things should go out regularly. And I know that's more the accountant, but I know, it's part of the whole accounting team. So that's just, I'm throwing that out there too.
Okay.
I think just really tightening up, being organized, and staying on top of the day-to-day, so that the month-end things happen, the year-end things happen.
Just kind of flows.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just my 2 cents.
Okay, that's great.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just for full transparency, I think I told you all individually, but Alyssa and I have worked together.
Mhm.
We did work together in Leicester. So when we weren't getting qualified applicants, I did reach out to her. So I just want to be fully transparent about that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You can work with Justine, okay?
Are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does anybody else want to comment on that?
One of her board members is here.
Would you like to speak?
No, just it's a big win for your town. She's as far as the consistency and she's fantastic. And I would never say that.
Not on record.
Right, because you are on record now. Okay, just so we all.
And, she's a little shy. She doesn't like to tell people. So she does go by Marge.
No.
Does she?
That's my name for her because she calls me Grandpa.
Well, at least we know we can all, razz each other too, and that's
Yes.
okay. That's important too. On a good, healthy basis, at least. I would take a motion if we're comfortable with doing so.
I move that we appoint Elisa Ayers as treasurer collector.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Thank you.
And we'll send over her official
And
offer letter
obviously,
tomorrow.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and all the good things that need to go along with that, Cory.
Draft
whatever,
our second,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice meeting you.
Likewise.
You're welcome to sit and,
I'll probably hang out for a few
but
minutes.
you can certainly leave also.
Thank you.
Okay, so we did the appointment, we did the townhouse. Discussion and vote on conservation restriction for Proudy Road properties. So we have it in our packet, and I believe, your name again, sorry.
Olivia Lukasik.
Olivia is here to explain what's going on.
Yes, good evening everyone, and good evening to the board. My name is Olivia. I work with the Trustees of Reservations, which is a statewide land trust nonprofit organization, and we hold over 300 conservation reservations across the state. We have an existing relationship with Dr. Leland, who lives on Proudy Road and has protected over, I think, 200 acres of his property at different points, both with the Trustees of Reservations as well as East Quabbin Land Trust. He had one portion of his property that was not protected under a conservation restriction, and as he is getting to be quite elderly at this point, it was important in his estate planning to have that portion of his property protected. It's right at the crest of Proudy Road. It's only 9 acres, but it's half prime ag soil farm fields that he's using for hay right now, and half forest, and has a really beautiful, just scenic vista, I would say. So as I was looking over the 2013 open space plan for the town of Hardwick, we felt like this conservation restriction not only qualified as a conservation restriction under state review, but also would support objective 1 and 4 in the open space and rec plan from 2013. So tonight, I'm here to answer any questions, but the process for conservation restrictions are in the state of Massachusetts. They have to go to the state Environmental and Energy Affairs Secretary, the EEA, Office of Energy and Energy and Environmental, EOEEA. I always get I say the acronym and then I can't say what it is.
Sorry,
So they review the conservation restriction. It goes through their legal team. There's some back and forth. But because this is something happening in your town, not only does the grantor, Dr. Leland, and the grantee, the trustees of reservation, have to sign the document, we also need the approval from the select board. If we are to obtain your signatures this evening or at a future meeting, the document would go back to the secretary for her signature before we put it on record at the Worcester County Registry of Deeds. I would love to answer any questions about the process or the conservation restriction itself.
Questions?
Sure.
Go for it.
One, is the public going to be granted access to this land? I thought, no. I understood no.
It is not. So it is not required for public access for conservation restrictions. Honestly, the trustees often really likes to work with landowners that would be open to having the public on their land. Dr. Leland did not opt for that option in this document.
Okay. Also, will this property be coming off the tax rolls in Hardwick?
I think that is a question for your individual departments. That is not a decision that the trustees would make, so that's however you all see conservation restrictions within the town.
Okay.
I've seen different towns and municipalities do it differently in terms of how they value the conservation restriction value.
Okay, never seen it not come off the tax roll, so,
That's why I'm asking.
yeah.
Not in this town anyway.
Great, then it would be coming up.
It's not a guarantee it's gonna come off the tax roll, because what is the public benefit to this?
The public benefit, I think, is just following your open space and recreation plan, so preserving active farmland and open space. So although the public is not available to access the land, we feel like this would be a very developable property, as there's that large section of farmland right on Crowdy Road that I think would be very readily available for development. I openly do not live in the town of Hardwick, so I don't know your housing pressure. Perhaps that is more appealing to you than additional open space. However, coming from the organization I work with, we love to see the protection of farmland, especially farmland that is actively being utilized for agriculture and not just simply being mowed and maintained. Dr. Leland does have a farming operation with beef cattle. This portion of the farm, like I said, is not grazing, but is more for hay. But it does have that benefit for maintaining that for future agricultural operations in the future when he is no longer the owner of that property.
Okay. So when he's no longer the owner of this property, do you plan on renting this land to farmers to farm it?
So we, the way the conservation restriction works is the trustees is simply the holder of that conservation restriction. The land stays in private ownership. We will not have ownership over the property. It could, to be very blunt, we don't have any interest in purchasing it or accepting a donation from him. A conservation organization could own that land, but I would assume that it would go on the market if he was no longer the owner. So it would go to
With that
another
restriction
private
on
entity.
it.
The
It will
restriction
always-
does
it will
run
always
with the
follow it.
land.
Yeah, just so everyone
Yes.
understands, yeah.
Yeah.
In the future, owner could farm it, but they wouldn't be able to develop it.
Correct. Right now, as the restriction is written, there's allowable, like, 3-sided run-ins for animals and other farming-related structures, but no residential structures and no commercial or industrial structures.
Okay, thank you.
Bill?
Thank you. I think you mentioned that Dr. Leland already set 200 acres or so in the conservation restriction. I would just ask, are those mostly the contiguous, the same parcel? And second, are there any differences in the CRs that he established there and this one? It's the same story.
That's a great question. They are contiguous. I'm not really entirely sure why he did not have these parcels. It's like one parcel and then a half a tax parcel. It's a little bit confusing. We actually had new survey work done, which that plan did just get recorded, I believe last week at the Worcester County Registry of Deeds. So that is now kind of collecting the last 8-9 acres of his land under a new conservation restriction. It is not substantially different. Those previous conservation restrictions also really were tailored towards agricultural operations. Open space, those other conservation restrictions that are already in place also did not allow for public access.
I don't know the answer to this, but it wouldn't be unusual for somebody when they did CRs to hold out a parcel for the possible development for their own family use to put a house up or such. And what would be happening now is that would no longer be an option.
Correct. I'm not going to speak to Dr. Leland's personal family matters, but I think he made the decision that he would not like to see that developed and for his legacy. Yes.
Liz?
Is that in 61 or 61A or 61B or C? It wouldn't be C because that's recreation, but A would be agricultural, B would be tree.
I'm pretty sure it is in 61A at the moment. And again, I'm not sure exactly how you all overlap 61. I'm sure he would continue. He wouldn't pull it out of 61 would be my guess, but again,
Well, I guess the question I have regarding conservation easement and this like with the Great Meadowbrook, okay? There was changes in the farm, conservation on that piece of property that the state is now, would have allowed that massive marijuana farm.
But that wasn't a conservation restriction, that was through.
Yeah, but I'm just,
Very different.
I'm kind of asking if there's loopholes that might happen somewhere down the line if the state changes. The state just said you can put a second house on any piece of property without, so you can't sit there and say, no, you can't develop it because the state says you can put another piece of property.
It does say it in this restriction.
Yeah, there's no accessory dwelling units, there's no residential development at all. I would say the way conservation restrictions are also written is they always have to follow the law in general. You can't get around it. In the conservation community, the conservation of marijuana has definitely started to come up a lot as individuals are interested in pursuing that as a business entity. I don't think there's any language in here that specifically says you cannot do that, if it would be considered a farming practice and as long as it would follow state law. So we, as the holder of this conservation restriction, would not have no, say in what type of agriculture, as long as it is, so maybe not the answer you wanted to hear, but I'm trying to be
I'm just looking at, okay, now there's a 200-acre piece of property that either the marijuana people or the racetrack people would go after, which we already, that's, I was just wondering how that conservation easement would, it might be something that you might want to address with Dr. Leland before you finalize any of the paperwork, because I don't think he would want that.
Yeah, I think, Dr. Leland, I've been always impressed whenever I go to meet with him and sit on his property. He is so conservation minded. I think he really sees that property as a huge asset for the community. We've recently put a wildlife camera on one of his walls, and it is amazing to see the wildlife that comes back here. He really enjoys that. So I think he, I'm not his legal representation. I'm simply a partner for him to work with. But I do think that he is thinking really critically about the future of his land.
It's just a thought to maybe, the next time you have a conversation with him, is to say, is this, have we tied it up enough that there won't be a racetrack or a giant marijuana?
There certainly would not be a racetrack, based on how this is written.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's one down.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I have an additional question.
Yeah, of course.
My question is this: would Dr. Leland be interested down the road when he passes away that the public could use the land? Like there could be some type of term in there that says, okay, until the end of your days, nobody will walk on the property and see these beautiful views and stuff like that. But once you're gone, I don't see why he wouldn't want the public to come on and enjoy such a view.
Do you mind if I reference the document? I'm working on several of these, and I don't want to misspeak to the one specific for this property. So these are, if any of you took the chance to look at these, they are very long.
Yes.
We have come a long way since the 70s when the first conservation restriction was recorded in Massachusetts, and now there is a lot more boilerplate to these. So on page 10, section 5 is public access. It says this conservation restriction does not grant any right of access to the general public, and the grantor retains its right to prohibit access to the premises by the general public. What is meant by that statement is that this conservation restriction does not give the affirmative right and does not require public access. However, the individual landowner, if in the future, if it is, once Dr. Leland passes or moves on from the property, it is certainly available to the public if that person chooses so, but it is not required by this document. So it could, if the next person said, I would love to have people walk on it, and chose not to post it, people could go on.
Right, but maybe that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if he'll put that term in this contract. So when he does pass, it does open up to the public.
We have not had those conversations. That's not usually something that I ask an individual, simply because this is written that it's an individual's choice. If that is something that the board feels strongly about, we can certainly go back. I will say Dr. Leland is very eager to see this go in place. I don't know if any other conservation restrictions have come to the Board of Selectmen lately, but it has been a very long review process with the state in terms of reviewing these documents. He has been waiting over 2 years to get to this point that I could come to see you all this evening. And so I'm certainly, if that is something the board would like me to have that conversation with, I would love to advocate on his behalf that seeing this move forward sooner rather than later, I think would make him feel better, but obviously it is up to you all.
Becky?
Yes, as a member of the Conservation Commission, we have been on his farm multiple times. Bill and I have walked his property. It is a beautiful farm. It is probably one of the most beautiful views in the town of Hardwick. He has 250 acres or thereabouts of agricultural land, and it's a working farm. He raises cattle and beef cattle, and it is superior. So when you have a working farm, and I grew up on a farm, it's like, it's not open to the public because it's private property. He's raising this product, and he also hays, and he has areas set aside for wildlife habitat, for birds. He has done a marvelous job in stewardship of his property. And I would strongly urge the select board to sign off on this conservation restriction. It's just, I looked at the map on Mass Mapper. He has the over 200 plus acres of farmland, and this is just another little piece of property just north of that he just wants to conserve. And it's already under conservation restriction already, and he has done a fantastic job in stewarding his land. It's beautiful, and I would strongly urge the select board to grant this conservation restriction.
Thank you.
Bill?
If I may, tell me if I'm wrong about any of this, please, but the CR that he is donating, basically, is going to reduce the value of his property because his heirs or any buyer of it later will not be able to develop the property.
Correct.
It leaves them, those future owners, with land that has to be dedicated to farming or whatever else it allows them. I'm sure it's farming and not necessarily recreation, but they could, as you said, open that up. It would be unusual, I think, to say you have to allow access to that property later, which I think for this particular piece would be access through other property that doesn't allow that onto this higher property, the 7-acre piece that could theoretically be said he has to allow it to that, or the future owners do it. That seems unworkable to me and unfair. I think he's already giving a great deal of future value away for the purposes that do benefit this town.
Yeah, we usually only have that affirmative public access piece saying that the property has to be open for public access when there is grant money that requires that. And as this is a donation, we really, allow the terms to be much more dictated by that.
Well, I think it's wonderful. I hope he gets a lot of recognition for what he's done so far.
Yeah, he's a really wonderful person. I
Yes.
hope you all think so. I've had,
He's a great guy.
every time I go, it's like the stories that person can tell. So happy to answer other questions or.
Did you have something else, Bill?
Well, according to the photo we have,
Yeah.
there's it abuts the road, so there is
Correct.
public access. There is road frontage to this property.
There is road frontage.
Yep.
Can you say what you mean by
Well,
there is public
because Bill
access?
commented that you had to walk through additional pieces of property to get to this
Oh.
property, and that's not necessarily the case here.
Yeah, maybe it's probably
Well,
so.
I'm just taking it for the,
It abuts it.
It's,
Yeah, it's the buttons.
right,
okay, that's all.
thank you.
Bill?
Bill.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to chime in since Becky mentioned we had been there several times. I'm pretty sure, I shouldn't speak for him, but I think his intention is probably to leave a legacy and make sure that that farm remains a farm.
Yeah.
Whoever buys it in the future, when he's gone, he would like to see it remain as farmland. And for that purpose, that's what I suspect he's doing. He's trying to leave a legacy to farming.
Okay. Becky?
Also, I'm not 100% sure, but his other farmland, I would guess, would be in 61A so there, he is being taxed
No,
at a
it-
reduced rate.
Mhm.
It's not like he's not paying any taxes. It's
I
different. So,
understand
you're not, it wouldn't change the amount of taxes that he would have on that property.
Yeah. Okay. All good?
I have one question.
Mark?
Who polices the conservation restriction?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
that's-
question. So, whoever the grantee of the conservation restriction is the one that is responsible for annual monitoring and stewardship. So, for this instance, and for the majority of Dr. Leland's property, the trustees of reservations is responsible for going out once a year, minimum, once a year, to walk that property, have a conversation with that landowner, ask if there's been any changes. Ideally, the going out once a year would stop any activities that would be negatively impacting the conservation values or directly going against the conservation restriction. There are definitely times that people do things within that 1 year, and in the past couple of years, the trustees have taken legal action against landowners that are doing something that is against the conservation.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's usually my colleague Sally Mazer, who's a wonderful human, if you ever get a chance to meet her.
Okay. So we good with this? Do we want to make a motion?
Leave it to you. Leave it to me. I'm just one person. I'm one of three. I would prefer, yes, the question to Dr. Leland, if he would be open to, down the road, have that open to the public once he passes. That would be my recommendation before this board took a vote.
I move that we table it for further discussion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No?
Negative. Just make sure Justine knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Justine just ran to the ladies' room, so bear with me while I figure out where we are on here. I think the nonprofit letters. We did the, so we did Parks and Recs, we did the maintenance worker, we did the road. It was voted to table this, 2-1.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I had to go to the bathroom.
So,
To the next meeting?
yeah, it was put into the trustees' hands to see if Dr. Leland would grant access at some point.
Future access to the public.
We did the health insurance, we did the school, yep. All right, so discussion and vote on letters to nonprofits. Do you want to speak to this? You asked for it to be on the
Yeah.
agenda.
I mentioned it at the Selectmen Roundtable, and we were just talking about SMARC at the time, and we just recently passed a new pilot TPC policy in the town of Hardwick to address all nonprofits in the community. So I think we should send out an introductory letter to let them all know, and, to start a conversation, and we send it to all of them. That's what I recommend.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I just want the board to be mindful that just, this week I'm dedicating to getting all 6
The
contracts done.
contracts, correct.
And
Yep.
the agreement with the companies renting upstairs.
Mhm.
So, just so you know, that won't be done this week.
Right.
Just wanted to be
That's totally
mindful.
fine.
Okay.
And so, I know we had this conversation. Would you be able to do it before the 24th, or do you want the first one in April?
I would probably like the first one in April, if that's all right with
To
you.
draft, so that we can see the
Approve it,
letter,
yeah,
approve it,
yeah.
and then send it out.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
It's just between budget and
No, I
that's-
understand
yeah,
it's getting into a
but I
busy
agree,
time
when-
of year.
I will say, after we had our last meeting, it was like, well, if we're sending it out to one, it should be, just send it out to, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And as
Alright.
part of that letter, we can send out the pilot. I
Yes.
mean, I know it's
Yeah.
posted everywhere and, but
Right.
that can be it and, you know, put something together that's, you know, welcoming to
Exactly.
have conversations.
I just try to be super realistic with you guys, just so, okay.
No, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. So let's have that for,
And we also can help you, Justine,
yeah,
if you want some help.
like, if you draft
It doesn't
something,
take much.
send it out to us and, you know,
Just- I don't mean to make light of it, but
no,
I'm
but
just
if,
saying,
no, and
we're
it-
here to help.
right, and if
We
she
should
wants
keep
to
it light.
draft something, then we can, so that we're ready to vote on it and get them out.
Right.
So
Yeah.
10-page letter for next meeting, just
No,
No, no,
No.
no.
half a paragraph to a
One
paragraph.
page,
I know.
very simple, very, yes. Okay. All right, good. So
Thank
that's
you.
good. And meeting minutes from January 27th.
There was changes that I got today a couple of times on the email, and I'd like to look at that before we vote on that.
There's also a typo.
That was the 21st, meeting for the 21st, that particular meeting.
That wasn't these minutes, right?
Well, the 27th should be the 21st?
Oh.
I assumed that it was what we were going to be dealing with tonight.
Okay.
Yeah,
It'll just be
yeah.
a-
No, I
Oh, this is a
think we should
typo.
just
I
table
gotcha.
this to our next meeting.
Okay.
That's what I recommend.
Table to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Well, I'll move it to, we do that. We put off voting on the minutes until the next meeting.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
second it.
Okay.
May I
Yes.
just speak to the minutes?
This,
So something that I've been working with the executive assistant on is they're not a transcript, they're minutes, and like
Right.
finding a balance between, because they are like being recorded and everything.
I agree.
So we have to find like the middle, because word for word, you know, again, like I've
It's
been
not what
working with
minutes are
her.
supposed to
I've
be.
been working with her on that.
Right, it's not a transcript.
Yeah,
It's what actually took place in the meeting.
right,
And
yes.
that's what I'm asking. That's all.
So want the adjustments based on your email from today?
Yeah, to include certain things, that's it.
Well, it would change, it
Them
would change the
entirely.
minutes, so
It
we have
does.
to
It
talk
change-
about
it
it.
Well,
changes
no,
them
I'm-
entirely and.
I'm just giving reference of what took place and it wasn't in the meeting minutes. And I'm just asking it to be put in the meeting minutes.
Yeah, I'll have to re-review
Yeah,
that. then.
that's why I say
Yeah.
table it,
Yeah.
Sure.
you send it out, they make the changes, you reread it. and
But what meeting was it from?
It was a working meeting of the January 21st.
Of January, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I was thinking.
Like, one of the
this doesn't
changes, a
make
simple
sense.
change was,
Yeah,
Mark
okay.
Korzik was present, but he wasn't present. Okay, not to pick on you, Mark. Stuff like that, you know, it's kinda,
Okay, all right, so we'll table this,
yeah,
add that to the next meeting.
all right.
Do we vote? We motioned and seconded,
Oh,
we
sorry.
need to call a vote.
Mhm, yeah, go ahead. If you want a motion to table this, yes.
I'll move to retable it again.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
I will say that transcribing the recording, it must be utterly grueling. So to catch it on the high points, and then if there's a question, we have it on film.
Correct.
So if it goes to court, we can use it.
It's recorded, yeah.
Well, and also there should be a reference to that YouTube video. If you want to, you know, there should be a reference in the meeting minute, whether it's somewhere on there.
What do you mean?
Well, it wasn't on this particular meeting minute, that's all I'm saying.
But it wasn't recorded?
It was recorded.
It was, yeah, it was.
So I agree with you, Stephen, like there should be a reference to it. So if somebody wanted to go watch the meeting, they could go watch the meeting.
We do that all on every,
That's on every meeting.
Right.
that's on
Right.
every meeting.
It's posted that way.
I get it, but on this particular meeting minutes, it wasn't on there. On our meeting minutes, we had that.
Okay.
I mean, it was just some clerical errors, and then there was some stuff that was just skipped over.
I will follow up.
And I understand
Okay.
Sandy's been very busy, and she's been working very hard. This has no reflection on Sandy at all. She's doing a great job. Just all about transparency,
Okay.
that's it.
Town administrator report?
So the moving company actually came today and is coming again on Monday to rearrange the planning board office. I picked a color for the office. It's going to be sand dollar. So that's exciting. I'm working on the agreement with Northern Construction.
Are they painting first or after?
They're painting first.
And after?
Well, if there's any,
Yeah, no,
It'll be in the- it's in the-
from experience of
Yeah.
dealing with contractors in office space, it should be after.
I think they think it's ugly, and it is. So
It's a contractor's office.
It's like a weird yellow. Well, anyway, it's sand dollar. It's gonna be sand dollar.
Okay.
Okay.
Does it cost us?
No, free.
Are they gonna fix the windows?
There was one window.
Good.
I don't know about all of them, but one of them, yeah.
Okay.
So we had a company out here today looking at the front door, so they're gonna get us a bunch of different quotes. I've actually been working with Mr. Korzik on,
I'm here today.
He's everywhere.
You're a busy man today.
he's been really great helping with the tree situation in the back of town hall and working with the different companies. When companies come in, you know, asking about it, I give them Mark's number, so that's been great. Hope you don't mind.
What?
Does
Getting
Thank
the
you, Mark.
logos, yeah.
it matter?
Yeah, does it matter?
So we had a bid opening with CMRPC, Eric Fleming, and Angie Broussard with the town representatives for the Memorial Parks study. This was a project that was part of the CDBG program that was started prior to my arrival, and now it's finally underway. So we did the bid opening for that.
Where are the memorial parks reference? Which ones?
It's the Gilbertville one. The one up
With
off
the
of
camp?
Prospect Street.
The ball game?
Yeah,
The ball
that
field?
park, correct. This goes back a couple of years now.
Yeah,
They've been
yeah.
working to get this
Yeah.
grant. Yep.
And there was something on Highland, which was the other.
Oh,
piece
yep,
of
that's
it.
the other part of it.
Yep.
Yep. So we met with our grant contractor, the town clerk, planning board, police department, highway department, and board of health. We're all present, kind of talking about their different priorities. We did give out the capital planning committee's, list of priorities and everything, so he is underway. We had a call with Selectman Valheim to do like a little introduction to help with some of the emergency management stuff too, and so that's pretty great, having some extra help. I've had several meetings with different health insurance representatives and consultants and just discussing different options. I'm not ready to come to the board with anything at this point, but I am looking at different options for what we're gonna do as of July 1st, because a 19.92% increase is insane. So again, looking at different options, and then once I wrap my head around it, and I'll come back to the board, so. So our auditors are still working to finalize our audit. They asked for some more information this week about the sewer project, so now I've connected them with Justin from DCP. So we're waiting on that, which I don't know why they didn't ask us before, but whatever. I met with the DPC and the sewer department last week. Also met with the finance team on the budget, the assessor, interim treasurer, and accountant. The accountant now comes in the last Thursday of the month, because that's when we do the department head meetings. So she comes in for that, and she stays all day, and which has been, I think, really helpful too, just to have her here.
Last Thursday of the month?
Yes. We interviewed another candidate for the vacant highway positions, to be determined. Drafted the retiree insurance policy. We're continuing to discuss contracts with the employees in the police union that expire at the end of the fiscal year. All of the meetings are done except the highway superintendent, which is taking place on Thursday. So I'm working on drafting all of those for the board, redlining everything so you guys can see, kind of compare from their last year to current year, what would be changed, and so that's been that. I met with Ann Goby, the Director of Rural Affairs. She reached out to me. I hadn't seen her in a while since my days at the State House, so she reached out and we sat and went over some stuff that was going on in town, from the police station to fire, and just everything in between, so. We held a meeting at Eagle Hill with the towns around the Quabbin to discuss the Quabbin legislation, and there was about 30 people there, including Senator Durant and Senator Comerford. That was very successful. Eric Fleming was instrumental in helping put that together. as well as Eagle Hill, and I think there was a good turnout. I think we got something out of it. We're all like in a network now, so when things either go to committee or go to hearing, we'll all be notified and we'll all have the same information, so we
I
can
had a couple
advocate for
of friends
this.
there that spoke very highly of the whole, they said it was really
That was-
informative and, yeah.
I had my monthly Ware radio interview, where I talked about the RFP for the Page Building and all of our vacancies in highway.
She does great.
No, I don't. I hate it. Thanks, Kelly. I don't.
What station is it?
97.7
Yeah.
WARE.
And when is it
AM.
on? When
Oh, God.
Thursday
Never.
mornings at 8:45. But they rotate, so it's where, so I always listen, and then if it's Justine, it's a bonus.
Okay. Little plug.
She doesn't send us the dates.
Right.
On purpose. So this week I want to recognize Sandy Rosenthal, whose birthday is also tomorrow, who worked well beyond her scheduled hours, getting the water bills out the door, working on the annual report. She's the gatekeeper, she's my gatekeeper, and then she still reminds me to eat at like 12:30. Like, she is just amazing, and I just want to make sure that we all know how great she is, and we're lucky to have her.
Right.
Important dates. Last day to drop off nomination papers is March 14th. Our annual town meeting is June 7th. And something that I just want to mention, that's not really finalized at this point, but just on your radar. Myself and Dr. Mott are working with the Leicester Health Coalition on a Narcan training in the month of April that will be open to residents and town staff, and anyone can attend. They just have to register. That's all I have tonight.
And then the town reports are here, the
Yes.
department reports rather.
They are.
For, so if anyone wants,
You gonna read that?
no, I'm not gonna read all these.
So just a quick correction, like the March 14th is the last day somebody can pull the papers to.
No.
And
turn them in.
Turn them in.
Turn them in, you
Yes.
gotta get the signatures and everything and turn them in?
Yep,
So
March
I
I
think,
thought it was like the 21st.
no,
or-
but
of
I think
April.
last Friday was the last day you could actually pull. This coming Friday is the last day to turn them in.
Okay.
I think it was the 7th and the 14th.
I don't
of
know
the-
anything about the 7th. I just think I thought the last day was to get everything in was the 14th.
Correct,
Yeah.
if you had already pulled papers.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Phil?
On the town site, maybe something's inaccurate here. It
Okay.
says the last day to obtain and submit nomination papers to the Board of Registrars for certification is Friday, the 14th of March.
Right.
They say
So you-
Oh, obtain, okay, so
and
then you have
submit.
2 weeks from there to turn them in.
Seemingly. But, and then I've never understood what, the last day to file nominations with
Yes.
the town clerk is March 28th.
Okay,
Yeah.
correct, okay, so then it's
You have
the
to give them-
14th,
Yeah,
To-
I guess.
pull papers.
No, you can pull papers on the 14th, but you also have to turn them in
That's why I
No.
was-
by the end of the day on the 14th. It goes to the registrars. that-
Oh, and then it goes
that
back,
they-
correct, right,
certification.
okay.
Look at you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I've done it
Because-
a dozen
well, 'cause-
times.
Because the town clerk is kind of one of the same,
Yes,
that's why it's, right,
right.
yes,
Thanks, Eric, for
Yes.
clarifying.
I
right.
didn't raise my voice.
It's not always easy to understand,
Right.
right.
Thanks,
It is
Bill.
confusing. So,
That's it for me for
Okay.
tonight.
okay.
I move to adjourn.
Do you have anything for the selectmen roundtable?
He made a motion.
It's not seconded yet.
Oh, okay. I don't have anything for the roundtable.
Okay, all right. I was gonna bring up the plumbing thing, but you covered it. So that's
Well,
good.
actually,
It was a great
we're
one.
still hanging. I'd like to know what the next step with that is. I mean, is there a, I mean, I dig the networking and all, and it's a great idea.
I can speak to that if you want.
Please.
So about a week ago is when everyone in the legislature got their committee assignments. So then once it goes to committee, there will be a public hearing date, and they're gonna let us know when that is. So we can either send letters, we can send a representative, however we want to advocate for the bill.
And the bill essentially is trying to tax.
Payment in
No.
lieu of.
Lieu of, right.
Yeah, it's,
It's
Payment in lieu
funds
of
and access,
for the towns that have land
correct.
in the Quabbin and be paid for by raising money for the water that goes into the cities.
Well, they changed it. They changed the bill, the senator bill. I haven't read the House bill, but the senator's bill is the 7 communities around the Quabbin. And it's gonna be a payment from the MWRA. It's not gonna be a tax on the water, it's gonna be a
Right, yeah.
payment from the MWRA. And the payment they asked for was $35 million, whether that makes it through there or they increase, who knows?
They'll
You know
have to
what I mean?
increase
But
the rates, but that's not
there's
our
a-
problem.
There's all different things on there.
That's ultimately what will happen, is the,
It's a police
No, not
station.
necessarily.
you know?
I mean, there's a lot of people in the MWRA that make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, but one of the things was to add 3 people to their board of directors. That was another thing in it as well.
Good.
It's good. And then there was also, how the money would be spent and
Fingers crossed that
allocated.
it goes through this time.
Well, it's a 2-year process, but
Yes.
you can write letters, you can review the bill, you can, meet with your senators, do recommendations for amendments, stuff, and how would you want it improved and stuff like that.
I'll update you as I have any information. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Bill.
Great, thank you.
Bill has a quick question back.
On that same subject, I thought I also heard at the meeting that, I wasn't at the meeting, but I thought I read that there was talk of requiring access to the water from those communities. for
That's what I
whom it's
just
feasible.
said, correct,
So we'd actually technically be able to pull water.
correct. That's
Yeah.
that's part of the bill as well.
Okay, good, thanks.
Not just the money piece of it, but
Right.
that these towns don't have access to that water. Yep.
Maybe a lot of construction.
We'll
Do
see.
you happen to have the bill name or number?
Not off the top of my head, sorry.
All right.
I can get it.
I'll mention it next time.
Yeah,
2 different
wasn't
bills.
prepared with that today.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
So,
Just sitting waiting for a second.
all right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So what I want you to do is